Good day, my dear managers, my dear students. How are you today? I hope you are enjoying your asynchronous week. And just like I promised, this is our recorded video lesson for chapter 6. I hope by the time you plan to sit down and watch this video, you have had the time to read, like the main topics, the main objectives of our chapter 6. And if you have already done so, you probably have already realized that it's very straightforward because business plans, when we talk about business plans, it's a review of many things that you have done in other classes, right? So I'm going to try to focus today's class in how we're going to adapt it to entrepreneurship ideas, to entrepreneurial business opportunities. So maybe I'm going to be like not skipping, but going through some sections that I believe you already know. I just don't want to be too repetitive because you have been learning this from term 1, right? So what's the point of repeating things from term 1, term 2? But what I would like you to do is maybe while you take notes, try to identify those techniques, maybe those tools that you believe you didn't remember, maybe, or you probably hadn't realized were so important when presenting a business plan, which has been exclusively designed for a new venture, right? For a new entrepreneurial idea or business opportunity. So that's the only recommendation that I give you. Let me start sharing our presentation. And again, just as I mentioned, I'm going to go very quickly through it. And maybe the recommendation I would like to make, remember you're going to be getting together with your team, right? And something I'm going to be emphasizing through this presentation today is how you can use some of these sections for those, and I keep telling them the 15 pages of the template. It's just a guideline to remember those 15 pages, actually, as you're going to see. You don't have to do the whole the whole 11 steps that we're going to be covering today. But if you think you may already add some of these sections to your draft, to your first delivery of a business plan, well, it's recommended you do so. Why? Because as we come back, right, from our asynchronous week and after our midterm, we're going to go back and rewrite, fix, right? I'm going to give you feedback so we can improve certain aspects of some sections maybe, or some segments of your business plan. But then again, it's a simulation, right? This is not a real business, but at least I would like to make sure the objectives are clear. The objectives then here for this chapter are going to be, I would like you to understand the purpose of a business plan, which is designed from start to convince people, entrepreneurs, or investors, new investors, or new team members maybe, or new people you may want to bring in your team. So the purpose is a little bit different from any or many of the business plans that you have probably already learned or covered in other classes. Okay, that's one. Describe who reads a business plan and what they're looking for. Again, because the purpose is different, the objective is different, then the way you're going to write your business plan may be a little different. So you can aim at their interests, and we'll talk about it. Discuss the guidelines to follow to write an effective business plan. That is the part that is very straightforward. That is the part you have already covered in other classes. So I'm not going to be very repetitive, but you may want to take notes about things maybe that you didn't remember. Identify and describe a suggested outline. That's the 11 sections that we're going to address. And if you have read the chapter and you have already taken your notes, you're very aware of those 11 segments, right? And finally, explain how to effectively present a business plan to potential investors. We're not going to get so much into this because the presentation, when we come back on week 5, 6, and also after our midterm, we're actually going to start now preparing. Once we rewrite our draft business plan and once once the information it's consistent, it's clear, and it has been presented in the right form to engage, of course, your potential investors, etc., then that's going to be the next part. We're going to be preparing a presentation. So I'm not going to get so much into it. I'm just going to mention the steps, but we're going to be doing this in class together. All right, so let's begin. I am hoping, and I'm sure all of you have read the first company, the first entrepreneurial idea that our chapter 6 begins with, right? And this is Kadama. And as you can see, Kadama actually was founded here in Seattle. Oh, by the way, this is, yes, I am in our house in Seattle. And this was founded, and you probably read the whole story, right? It's very interesting because these three young entrepreneurs actually created this idea based on a real problem. Did you read about the real problem, right? One of them had this real problem, and then he said, "How come we don't have an app to help people connect with these necessities, etc." So that's how it started. Nowadays, Kadama is a place for tutoring mostly, and tutoring not only for young students, but tutoring for anything, tutoring in any subject, as you can see in the example. If you go to the website about any educational academic subject matter, but also there are other types of tutoring they can help with, but they actually connect tutors with the students, and the advantage is that they have tutors all around the world. So this has been a very successful, of course, business idea. And the reason why they're presenting this, and I really hope you haven't read, stop the video, please. Pause the video and go read the first few pages, because I would like you to understand how they failed in the first attempts they made to present their business plans. I think that's the most important thing we can learn from Kadama and from this new venture journey, right? In those first stages of their business, because you're going to read about it. They presented, second time, no. And they were actually participating to earn some grants and win some prizes so their venture could get like investors, etc., some kind of investment loan, etc. But they didn't get it. So that's exactly what I would like you to read about this, because remember how much we have insisted on the importance of failure, but we have to remember, we have talked about this, we have to rewind our mindset to see failure as, no, this is a chance to fix it and do it again. Let's learn, let's get ready, and let's make sure next time we make sure that we're doing it correctly. So that's the importance, I think, about Kadama. Okay, business plan, and you already have this in your glossaries, I am sure. I'm not going to get so much into it. It's a written narrative, typically 25 to 35 pages long, that describes what a new business intends to accomplish and how it intends to accomplish this, all right? Okay. Now, it's a dual use document, and I'm sure this has been very clear too. It could be used for inside and for outside the company, and this is nothing new. Now, for entrepreneurship, what might be new is that the people outside might be potential investors. So that changes, right? So the business plan must have substantive enough, must be substantive enough, and have sufficient details about the merits of the new venture to convince the readers that it is exciting and should receive support. The Wells Fargo Gallup Small Business Index, and this is very important, this survey, they found that businesses that have a business plan have significantly higher expectations for the years ahead than those without it. Remember, we have also talked about the fact that in some of the previous chapters, that it's very hard to pass the 5 years mark, right? We have said that from the beginning. If we have a clear, it's a roadmap, right? And this is going to help us. So that's why it's so important. And as I was mentioning, the internal reason, of course, first, it forces the founding team to systematically, and I would add, in a standardized way, think through every single aspect of this new venture. Remember how we have talked about, and we're going to make a lot of references to those videos. Remember those videos we watched last week with the good practice and the bad practice with the Dragon's Den? Well, they didn't know many things about their new venture. So making sure you create this business plan is forcing you and your team internally to be aware at least of the most important aspects of your business, right? And the external reason, of course, is to communicate the merits of this new venture to outsiders such as investors, bankers, etc. And I added this image because I liked it: the who, the what, and the why. I would actually recommend, remember, you're also going to create for your draft for next week, your concept statement. Remember that little page that we saw, if I remember well, I think this was chapter 4, if I remember well. Well, maybe you can add that. Make sure that in that little page that describes and summarizes your venture, your business, you express the who. Who are the major players shaping this business goal, right? The what do you offer, and what are your unique advantages? Remember, you're going to present those advantages not in features, but in benefits for your potential clients, remember? Now, the why. Why are you in the business and why choose you? That's where you bring your personal story. Remember the storytelling part? That's when you say, you know what? And actually go back to this business that we were talking about at the beginning of chapter 6. You can read the story of the founders, and that story helps you connect with the people who are listening to you, who are maybe paying attention to this new venture and may be convinced, to be part of your business in the future. Now, this is important. The two primary audiences then for a firm's business plan, then the employees, not only you as the founders and the organizational team, but also potential employees that you want to bring into your project. It's very important that they understand what they're coming to, the philosophy, the mission, the vision, everything. And I believe this first part is important. But also, as we said, investors. A firm's business plan must make the case that the firm is in a good use of the investors' funding and the attention of others. So that's the dual purpose of this business plan. Now, there are several red flags. And first one, founders with none of their own money actually risking and investing, right? When you say, oh, no, not my money. I'm going to risk yours, but not mine. Well, it's a little red flag. A poorly cited plan. Now, this week, all of you have your reorientation. So I hope you pay attention in your reorientation to how to cite, how to paraphrase, how to do good research, objective research, because in your business plan, you need to present that research. Now, remember the two girls, right, from the good company, right, from the Drive Up Stand. Remember they said, in our website, you're going to find each ingredient. Each ingredient you click and you're going to find where we're getting the ingredient from. And also you can click and it will take you to all the academic research that supports all the benefits of that ingredient. And remember how we said, oh my God, they really know their product, right? That's exactly what we're trying to say here. You are citing, you are backing up the efficiency, the benefits of your idea, of your service, not just because you say so, because experts also give you that support. So that's very important, and I hope you pay attention to that in your reorientation, okay? Defining the market size too broadly, saying, oh, we're going to sell in all British Columbia. Do you even have an idea how many people live in British Columbia? So we need, remember what we saw, the three segments of the market? Okay, make sure that is clear too. Overly aggressive financials. Oh, yes, we're going to be making $1 million in the first year. Remember that example in the video? There you go. And sloppiness in any area. Proving that you have no idea what you're talking about. Proving like, oh, revenues. Oh, I'm not sure. Profits. Oh, I'm not sure. Sales. Now, I know we are working in a simulation, but at least in this simulation, know the major information, the main information about your simulation. That's it. I promise. Okay, we're not going to put you on the spot, but at least know what you're going to be selling, know your industry, etc. And these are the examples we were talking about, right? First, in financials, for example, a high burn rate. What is that? That means we need $1 million, an example, right? But it turns out that in the first 3 months, we have already spent $800,000 from that million. Wait a minute, that is a huge red flag. How is that projected that in only three months you're going to be spending that much without making any sales? Like, so little things to pay attention to. And I'm sure you have also talked about this in your financial classes as well. No clear revenue money. How are you going to be making profits? One thing is sales, remember, and another thing is profits. Not the same. And I know you know this. Or over-evaluated projections. Remember the first the first people who presented their product in the Dragon's Den? Oh, we need $1 million because our business is worth $10 million. Completely over-evaluated. They were actually called out for that, remember? Okay, so I'm sure you know this. Now, once again, this is a suggested structure. However, this structure that your book gives you, it's recommended, okay? You don't have to, it's recommended. If there is one section that has to be bigger, another section smaller, that's what I would like you to maybe decide together in your team meeting. Now, stop here for a minute. Teacher, do we need to add all these sections to our draft work that we're going to be doing next week? The answer, no, you don't have to. All right. As you can see, some of these sections are already part of those 15 pages, right? Yes, we can see some of them, right? Some of those also are not there in those 15 pages. Okay, we know that too. As I already mentioned, if you feel you can add a little section or at least an outline, like, yes, I think we're going to add this. And right now, because this is just a draft, we're just going to add maybe something very simple. That's fine. It's a draft. That means when we analyze it in the following weeks together in class, and we work together, then we can make decisions. I think, what do you think? What do you believe? We all share, and then we start making decisions. Yes, I think we can add more information here, or you know what? I think that's enough for now for this simulation. So again, teacher, do we need to add absolutely every segment that we can see here in the slide? The answer is no, you don't have to. But then I go to the other question. Teacher, do we need to do exactly what the 15 pages say? You don't have to, but I suggest you do because it's already giving you some of the sections that you have here. But for example, here in this business plan that we have here in this presentation, you don't have the SWOT analysis, right? I know, but the template gives you the SWOT analysis, and that is always very helpful because it's like a screenshot of the general important, and SWOT, right? Success, opportunities, blah, blah, blah. You know that. So I suggest you tailor, and that is another skill that wonderful managers are usually experts in, being able to tailor whatever it's important to the characteristics of your business opportunity, okay? So I hope I was clear there. The answer is no, you don't have to. You may, I suggest you do, because if you don't do it now in the draft, eventually you're going to have to do it, right? So if you want to add a little thing now, that's fine too. And again, this is just a draft. So this is a suggestion, but then again, you may want to standardize it to your own characteristics of your business. So let's talk about this. This is important. The online platforms. Remember, I already actually gave you a lot of websites. Your book has a lot of links and websites that can give you a lot of templates. Right now, I gave you the one that I uploaded on week 4, I remember. And I said the 15 pages is a good guideline. But if you have any other template, go ahead. As long as it includes the most important parts, that's important. I just want to mention this. This is important. Some of these programs are very helpful, the online templates and things that we have, right? However, entrepreneurs should avoid a boilerplate plan that looks as though it came from a canned source. What does this mean? This means avoid doing copy, paste, and then all our 10 ideas look exactly the same, even though our business ideas are completely different. That's what we're trying to avoid, okay? This is actually a red flag. When you see a new entrepreneurial idea and you realize that, wait a minute, they just copy pasted and they didn't even read what they included, that is a red flag. So avoiding using boilerplate plans is avoid using templates just as they are. So once again, teacher, do we have to do? No, you have to tailor the 15 pages, right? And you have to tailor these 12 different sections that we're going to see to the characteristics of your product. And that's why you need the meeting. Those are decisions you need to make together as a team. I know. You don't ask me, ask each other. You're there to help each other, all right? And etc. Okay, so content of the business plan. The business plan then should give clear and concise information of all the important aspects of the proposed venture. It must be long enough to provide sufficient information, yet short enough to maintain readers' interest. For most plans, 25 to 35 pages is sufficient. Now, don't panic. You won't have to do 30 pages at the end. Right now, those 15 pages are going to help you. And maybe the 15 end up being 12, end up being, I don't know, 18. It doesn't matter. It's not about the number of pages, but it's the content of your pages, right? Very good. But I don't want you to give me 35 pages if it's just copy paste. No, if it doesn't make sense. Again, the business plan is a guideline. In the case of our class, we're going to use it as a simulation, and try to imagine for this simulation, if I presented this business plan to prospect employees or prospect friends or investors that I would invite to come join us, would it have enough information, basic information, for me to actually give them an idea about what our business is about? Then that might be enough. Maybe 20 pages is enough, 18. What I'm thinking is it cannot be less than 15 pages once we work on them, once we fix them, etc., because it probably won't have enough information. At least we need to add the most important segments that we are going to be talking about, okay? So it all depends also in the type of business plans, and let's begin. We have 3 different types: summary business plan, full business plan, and operational business plan. Now, for now, what you're going to be working on with your team, imagine is a summary business plan, right? That's what we're going to be doing as a draft. Maybe later on, we're going to develop our summary business plan a little bit more into a full business plan, but it will not be a full business plan because it's not a real business, right? It's a simulation, but we will still, maybe we will extend it a little bit only. And finally, you need to understand also that usually something that begins as summary in full business plan, it eventually is developed into an operational business plan. And this is almost like a 100-page operational manual, procedure manual. Okay, I used to write procedure manuals, so I know they're usually very long. It is meant primarily for an internal audience. It works best as a tool for creating a blueprint for a new venture operation and provide guidance to operational managers. Remember when I told you that I used to travel to train operational directors, sales representatives, etc.? I used to be part of the teams. I didn't write them myself. I was part of a team, and we will write these operational business plans with procedures, etc. So we won't get into that. Don't worry. We're just going to probably stay into the summary and a little bit into the full business, okay? So we need to just recognize the elements of the plan because they may change. And I love this. When you create the first blueprint, the reason why I called it a draft is because sometimes the students have problems when I give them feedback. They feel like I'm judging them or like, oh, I made a mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake. Receiving feedback doesn't mean you made a mistake. Receiving feedback is we can do this much better, right? Remember the mindset. That's the entrepreneurial mindset we're developing. So we need to understand from the beginning what you're going to deliver. It's gonna have to be improved. That's it. There's no way what you can deliver is going to be perfect. Why? Because it's the first time we're doing it. Because also it's the first time you're working as a team, the way in which now we're learning to work effectively, right? So definitely put in your mindset, this is going to be improved eventually, right? So make sure you understand that this plan is going to be changing, it's going to be evolving, it has to be open to feedback. And actually, there's going to be a point later on when we are going to join different teams, and I'm going to put different teams to work together so you can give feedback to each other from a product you may not even be familiarized with, but that is important. We need to have somebody else's vision And we need also to learn how to take feedback objectively without taking it personal. Remember, emotional intelligence and everything. So we're going to be doing that also as an exercise. So let's go to the outline of the business plan. 12 main sections. I know you already read about them. I know you have them in your glossary. So I'm going to go very quickly through them, but I'm only going to stop in what I believe might be relevant for your exercises this next week, okay? So this is important again. Most business plans do not include all elements introduced in the sample plan. We include them here for the purpose of completeness. So you see, even the book is telling you, no, teacher, do we need to add? No, you don't. You're going to select whatever is relevant to you. Teacher, how will I know? That's why you're in a team. That's why you're going to be learning from each other. And don't worry, it's a draft, right? Okay, very good. See, each team must decide, etc. So for us to understand these 11 steps or segments, try to imagine, my wonderful managers, you are training to become the best master chefs. What do master chefs do? Remember how they're just given, okay, today, and they don't know what they're going to cook, right? Today, you're going to create a seafood pasta. Very good. And then they're given all access to all the different ingredients, right? Okay. Well, try to imagine everything you have learned in all your classes from term 1, from term 2, and now from term 3. Try to imagine you have been trained in knowing different ingredients and knowing different techniques on how to prepare those ingredients. Some people are going to boil the food, the tomatoes, or some people are going to, I don't know, instead of boil, they're going to, I don't know, instead of oil, fry. Yes, I know. Some people are going to steam the ingredients. So there are different techniques, right, in how we can cook something. Well, that's exactly the beauty of working in a team because we have different ways of doing things. But working in a team means, okay, I think it's my idea. Maybe this might work. What do you think? Well, I think we might do this. So why am I mentioning this? I wouldn't like you to divide again. Remember the horse, the horrible horse? You do page 1, you do page 2, and you do page 3. We don't want that. And we're going to avoid that. And that's going to happen if you do, oh, you do section 1, and you do section 3, you do section 4, and we just put them together. Master chefs don't do that. However, master chefs divide the work. Okay, we have to focus on the first part of our recipe. So let's divide that first part together. Let's put that first part together, all of us, and then we go to the second part. So that's the thing I recommend you to do, okay? You're learning to be master chefs. Some people will be better at one thing, some people will be better at another, and that's how you work together. So the best thing and the most important part of this is the executive summary. Now, I know you have written executive summaries in the past, and I also know AI can help us now a lot with executive summaries. But remember, we don't want an executive summary that sounds artificial, right? That sounds made by AI because it doesn't sound natural. That takes away the part of your personal connection to your product and to your venture. So we need to make sure that, it's important again, it provides a busy reader with everything he needs to know about your new venture, the nature. And this executive summary is actually very similar to that concept statement that we presented again a few weeks ago. Okay, the plan itself is going to evolve. Okay, so it's written. Not everything it's going to be written right now. It's just a draft. So executive summary, very important. Now, what is important about the executive summary? And again, this executive summary can be either 1, 2 paragraphs. You have done this in other classes, or it can take the form of that concept statement that we saw a few chapters ago, okay? In many instances, an investor will first ask for a copy of the firm's PowerPoint deck and an executive summary, and will request a copy of the full business plan only if the PowerPoint and or the executive summary are sufficiently convincing. That's the importance of the executive summary. And in the quiz, they ask you this. What is the importance of the executive summary? Why is the executive summary so important? Well, because again, it's the most important part of the business plan, but you have to understand why. Because busy people, busy investors are usually just going to see your PowerPoint presentation your little concept statement or summary, executive summary, and that's it. If from there they're not convinced, they're not even giving you an interview or the opportunity to pitch personally your idea. I know. Number two, we have done this. Okay, go back please to some of our previous chapters. Okay, after we did a little bit in feasibility analysis, right? But also we had a chapter on industry analysis. So go back to that part and take from that chapter whatever you believe might be relevant to give us an idea about the importance of the industry you're going to try to, maybe the market you're going to try to aim your product at. This section should begin industry, size, growth rate, sales projection, etc., etc. And again, go back to your chapter. Some key insights before a business selects a target market. It should have a good grasp of the industry. Remember those ladies who didn't know the industry? Well, at least get an idea about the industry you're trying to actually make sure that your business is going to be successful. Well, you need to know the industry, right? Very good. Company description, which is, again, is not the same. Executive summary could be 1 to 2 paragraphs, and the company description could be that concept statement too. It's up to you. It's up to you. You decide. This section begins with the general description of the company description, history, mission statement, products and services, current status, legal status, key partners. That's why this sounds like the concept statement that you had and you have it in the presentation and also in your book. What to include: business name, goals, competitive advantage, target customers, location, mission statement, product services, opening date, business structure, just 1 page. But this is very important too, right? This could be also part of what investors are going to read. The key insights, while at first glance, this section may seem less important than the others, it is extremely important. It demonstrates to your reader that you know how to translate your idea into a business. All right. Market analysis. We also talked a little bit about that when we mentioned the industry analysis. And remember, the market analysis breaks the industry into segments and zeroes in on a specific segment, okay, to which the firm will try to appeal. In items to include: market segmentation, target market selection, buyer's behavior, competitors analysis, estimate of the firm annual sales, and market share. Now, don't add too much. Remember, it's not about, oh, teacher, we're going to submit 30 pages. Don't panic about 20 pages. Be more targeted, be more summarize the most important parts. And because this is a draft, when we analyze it, we might decide, you know what, let's extend this for the next delivery, or let's make it shorter. Just for now, keep it short, okay? Remember again the difference between target market and target audience. We already talked about that in some of the previous classes as well. Now, this is something I suggest you add, and this was not in the previous chapters. Maybe try to talk a little bit about the geographic segment of the people you're going to try to target with your service or product. The demographic, remember the persona. Remember when we talk about the persona part, that is a good idea too. That helps you identify behaviors, demographic, psychographic, values, needs, hobbies, interests. Remember when we talk about that, behavioral, purchasing habits, spending habits, customer loyalty. So again, right now, AI can help you a little bit, just don't copy paste, okay? Or you can get some ideas also from online research. Now, some key insights here. Most startups do not service the entire industry, and we know that. Instead, they focus on servicing a specific target. Like remember the guitars for girls, right? Very specific. Or the motorcycles you can rent in the US, right? Again, very specific. It is important to include a section in the market analysis that deals with the behavior of the consumers in the market, at least an idea. The more a startup knows about the consumers in its target market, the more it can tailor its products or services appropriately. So again, you have also talked about this in your marketing classes. The economics of the business. This section addresses the basic logic, of how profits are earned, how you plan to earn your profit in the business, and how many units of a business product profits must be sold for the business to break even. We'll talk about this in a minute. And then start earning profit. Items to include: revenue drivers, profit margins, fixed and variable costs. You have talked about this in all your financial classes, so you can just use some examples. Operating leverages and its implication, startup costs, break-even chart, and calculations. So I hope, again, go back to your notebook from your previous term 1, term 2, because sharks I'm bringing, the dragons I'm bringing, they're going to ask you, Okay, questions about this. So at least I know it's a draft, but we need to start getting ready to know what we're talking about. Now, some of the economy, and I will talk about the break even. I know you have talked about this also in other classes. Remember, break even is the point in which your costs and your sales are already at the same level. Again, I'm going to mention computing a break-even analysis is an extremely useful exercise for any proposed or existing business. Break-even analysis is a financial tool that helps business determine, this is super important, the point in time usually, or in which phase of your business, at which point the total revenues equal their total costs, resulting in neither profit or loss. Usually at the beginning, while you start selling, the first phase maybe of your business is going to be losses, right? So that's why we need a lot of cash to begin. But you need to determine when do we plan to have our break-even point, and then from the sales, we're going to start making profits. For some firms, maybe months. For some firms, maybe years. For franchises, actually, let me tell you something. Remember, I used to work for franchises and auditing franchises. For these franchises that I used to work for, it took them usually 5 to 6 years to reach their break-even point. So that means that they needed to have enough funding to make sure to stand, to be able to deal with all the expenses and costs of the first 5 years of operations. And it wasn't until after, usually, I think the most successful 4 years, 8 months, it took them to start making profits. But then again, it depends on the size of the business. Some of them maybe weeks, months, years, just for you to get an idea. If you need to do some research in that matter, also do so, please. Marketing plan, we already talked about that too. Overall marketing strategy, product, price, promotion, and it's not only about the segment market in the industry, but how you plan to market, how you plan to sell. Are you going to sell online? Are you going to sell to Amazon? Are you going to ship yourself? Are you going to have your own warehouse? How do you plan to market, sales tactics, etc.? Some of the key insights here. Marketing strategy, position, and points of differentiation. That is key, your point of differentiation. Talk about how this overall aspect of the plan will be supported by your price, promotional mix, which you know which derive, product, price. Again, go back to your marketing class. You should know this already. And distribution strategy. It is also important to discuss the company's sales process, okay? Next, design and developmental plan. A lot of entrepreneurships skip this point. And I'm going to show you in a minute what happens when you skip it. I know it's horrible. If you're developing a completely new product or service, you need to include a section in your business that focuses on the status of your development efforts. It's almost like research and development. Items to include in this section: developmental status and tasks, challenges and risks, projected development costs, right? Proprietary issues, patents, trademark, copyrights, licenses, brand names, etc. Okay. Now, why am I telling you this? Lilly Robotics is one of the most famous cases for a failure. It was horrible, horrible. Okay. Many seemingly startups never get off the ground because their product development efforts stall, or the actual development of the product or service turns out to be more difficult or more expensive than thoughtful. They didn't do the research. So they planned that they were going to be ready after 1 year with this investment. It turns out they did not. They were not ready. And as a result, this is a very important section. Again, many of your products may not have a development part, but I suggest you tried to make sure you add a development plan, okay? At least, I'm going to tell you why. Most entrepreneurs do not pay enough attention to this, or they assume, oh, it's like, we're already using it. Don't assume. Assumptions, that's your worst mistake, along with your ego, right? So Lilly Robotics, this was a drone startup. You can actually Google it. You can look for it. What was the problem? Failed to deliver a working product after pre-orders. And listen to this. They promised a revolutionary self-flying camera drone, which now is very common, right? But when this started, we didn't have that. But couldn't overcome, back in the day, the engineering and regulatory hurdles. After multiple delays, the company refunded the customers and shut down. Now, look at what it says there. Lily, the autonomous camera drone, was sold a whopping 34 million. They pre-sold $34 million in pre-orders. They announced, finally, we're shutting down. In an email sent to customers about an hour ago, and this is I'm quoting from the website and you can find it. I think, oh, it's in a different color. You cannot see the link, but I'll make sure you see it. I'll change the presentation so you can see it because I didn't change the color of the font. They just sent an email an hour ago. The startup said that it was unable to raise an additional round of funding, which would have allowed it to start production of the drone. They didn't even start the production, and they had to give back the $34 million. I don't have to tell you they went bankrupt. It was horrible. It's a horrible case to learn from, but this is exactly what happens when you don't actually work in a good development plan. And critically, that's another horrible example. And the idea was so good. If you can actually pause or make my video a little small while you check, or on your cell phone, go to your cell phone. Quirky, was a great idea also. You know what they were doing? They actually said, we're going to create a website, or we're going to create a service in which we connect inventors with people who need those inventions. We're going to get funding, and our service is going to be put all those things together. So for example, can you see here in the little slide that I'm sharing, you can see there, for example, Switch, Comfort, Mug Stir. So there were ideas like a mug that stirs your coffee automatically. I don't know. Or like a mantle, a keyboard that already has the light included. They were not bad ideas. They were actually wonderful ideas, but they made a horrible mistake. By the time they launched, they went big too quickly. They promised, like to Home Depot, that we're going to provide you with all these products. And we promised to all these stores that we're going to sell you 10,000 units. So they started using the money in producing the products that were being pitched by all these inventors. But by the time they got to the stores, nobody wanted the products. 10,000 products, it was too much. They couldn't understand. It was a new market, and I'm going to give it to them. It was a great idea, but the timing, and also as you can see there, maybe they had used e-platforms, but they had too many costs that it was just horrible. And again, this is just a little idea. You can read a little bit more about it, and it breaks my heart because actually this was a very nice idea. I hope you can research a little bit more about it because again, it's a horrible failure, but we're learning from it, right? Okay, now the operations one. What we're going to do here is, here we illustrate everything that we're going to be doing, from what is seen to the customer, what is unseen to the customer, but also what we're doing behind the scenes. Everything has to be there. For example, general approach to operations. How are we going to operate? What's the front to the customer? Are we going to sell through an app? Are we going to have a store? Am I going to hire sales representatives and they're going to go door to door? I don't know. All your operations plan is going to be there. And you have seen this again in other classes. So I'm not going to get so much into this, but you need to be clear on, okay, this is the production. We're going to have 3 people producing from this time to this. And these are the sales representatives, and they're going to be working here. Very good. And these are the marketing people. We're going to outsource that. So just a little idea of how you are planning to begin. The management team, we need that. And that's you, remember? I told you, okay? So because this is a simulation, you are the 3 founders, okay, of your business. You're going to put your picture there. It's going to be a beautiful picture. And you're going to say, yes, this is our structure. This is us. Look at our team profile. And I'm going to actually upload in week 4 some examples of summarized business plans. These were not entrepreneurial business plans. I need to make this very clear. These were not entrepreneurial business plans. These were just regular business plans. But I'm going to post some examples and some ideas so you can pay attention to the team profile, because I would expect you to add this section to what you're going to submit next week, please. This you can already do. And you can already, write about who you are. Try to use a professional image. That is very important too. Okay, make sure you're not in bed. As I said, make sure, yes, you do your hair, etc. And those are good examples. Again, I repeat, I don't want you to do what you're going to see there, because that is it has a different objective. But those business plans just focus in the team presentation. Those are very good examples. Of course, we need to have how are we going to be planning things, right? So we need a schedule. That's why having your, I know, everything in your cell phone, being organized, so important, because now we have to plan the whole. What is our projection? We're going to do phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and which steps we're going to take in each one of those phases, right? Incorporating venture, completion of prototypes, these are just examples, rental of facilities, obtaining critical financing, starting production, obtaining the first sale, etc., etc., etc. So these are examples, as you can see there. Start business planning, initial preparation, online business planning, begin creating the marketing plan, name of the business, determine the sales, blah, 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 blah. And the good thing, we have a lot of templates for that. You don't really need to do this schedule right now. For now, you can just use one image, copy, paste it, and we'll decide together which is the best template to use later on, okay? Some insights. An effective prepared and presented schedule can be extremely helpful in convincing potential investors that the management team is aware of what needs to be taken place of, okay, to launch the venture, and that the plan is completely organized and in a place. Now, again, I'm going to repeat. You do not have to do this, like, don't waste a lot of time doing this right now, okay? Just use like an example that you may like, and you can say, okay, teacher, this is not for us, but we liked this sample. So we think that when we actually develop the schedule, this is an example that we would like to develop. I hope I was clear then. Don't waste a lot of time, because this can take weeks of planning. So don't waste a lot of time doing this for now. Okay, very good. Again, the final section of the business plan presents a firm. Oh, yes, the financial projection, super important. What do you plan to do? And again, don't spend a lot of time of this. This is the part where right now you can just use examples, templates, just like the one I'm giving you. Don't panic right now. Sources and uses of funds statement, assumption sheet, pro forma income, balance sheet, cash flows, ratio analysis. Don't worry, we're not going to get into your financial classes for now, okay? And this is just a simulation. So we're not going to get so much into this. So these last two parts, this, yes, the schedule and the financials, just copy paste a little example. It's a draft, and we'll work on it later on. Some key insights about the financials. Again, having completed the earlier sections of the plan, it's easy to see why financial projections come last, right? They take the plans you have developed and express them in financial terms. But don't worry, those last two parts, we won't be really getting into that. Now, this last part, and I'm about to finish today's class. I don't have to tell you the importance of the oral presentation and preparing to pitch to the investors. And that's why I gave you right now an image of our good examples, the good examples we watched last class, remember? The first rule in making an oral presentation is to follow directions. If you're told you have 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Don't talk for more than, etc., etc. So I already told you, for your final pitch, once if we are able to bring our real sharks and our real dragons because of the time, the class time, you're not going to have more than 10 or 12 minutes altogether, the whole team. And you cannot spend more than that. Probably just 10 minutes with 2 minutes for questions, okay? Which is kind of what we saw in the Dragon's Den good presentation, right? Presentation should be smooth, well-rehearsed, slides should be sharp and not cluttered. We'll talk about that later on the presentation. Questions and feedback to expect from investors. We need to be ready, right? The smart entrepreneur has a good idea of the questions that will be asked and will be prepared for those queries. Remember these girls, how they answered all those questions? They were amazing, right? And again, this is the final part. This is a suggestion for your presentation, but I added something because your book doesn't talk about the importance of storytelling. And you see, I even put there in red, storytelling. And I think that's one of the reasons why these girls were also so successful, right? They were able to tell a story. not only how they came with the idea, how they started in the garage, right? But also the girl being sick. So they were able to share their story, and that connected them with the audience, with the prospect funding investors, right? So later we're going to be focused on the importance of presentations, but this is just right now for you to know. Teacher, we need to do a PowerPoint presentation for next week. No, 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 not yet, but keep this slide in mind. Okay, so as I said, we're done, right? It was a review and a reminder of many business aspects you have talked about in many other classes, and you have done also in many other classes, in many other projects. Maybe the only difference is going to be that this time around, you really need to read what AI or the research or Google Trends is telling you so you really understand. Because I am so sorry to tell you this, guys. You need to start getting ready. If you do this yourselves, you are already getting ready for your final presentation. If you're just going to copy paste what you find, either from AI or from Google, you're lost. You know why? Because DeepSeek is not going to be in that presentation. It's going to be you. AI, ChatGPT is not going to be in that presentation. It's going to be you. So again, that's why it's so important that at least during this week, you focus on working in that team assignment together, but make sure all the decisions are made together. Even if one person, that's why I'm going to insist again. I need to see everybody working at the same time on the same document, okay? If I don't see that, you're already losing points. I need to see the document, share the document, just like I'm sharing, right, the presentation, share the document, so I can see everybody participating and doing different sections. Now, before you confirm, make sure you say, okay, you gave me the assignment of the industry analysis, fine. Girls, can I give you then a summary of what I found, and then you can help me decide what we can add? Yes? Okay. So I found this, and this. What do you think we should add? And then together you add. You tell, oh, I think this section, very good. Then I'll finish that part. Now, other person, oh, I found this from whatever I was supposed to research. Very good. Share, decide together. What do you think? Should we change, add, take this away, put add? You make the decisions together, and then you do it. That's how we work together, okay? And I'm really looking forward to seeing you working together collaboratively. I am very proud of you. I am sure you're going to do a good job. And make sure that day when you're meeting, you're not worried, you're not busy, you're not in your work, you're in the train. Because if I'm just telling you right now, if that is happening, say goodbye to your grade right now. You need to make sure that you're really paying attention and you're putting all your effort and attention into that meeting. Remember, the paper, the document you're going to send, I'm not even going to grade it. Remember, what I'm grading is your work, your effort. Okay. And I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions. Yes, I love questions. And that's perfect, because make sure if you have doubts and questions, even as a team, write them down in your notebook, okay? And we'll address many of those questions in the next class when I see you next week. Is that okay? All right, very good. So yes, I miss you. Believe it or not, I miss you. I'm going to miss you, but I'll be seeing you then next week in week 5. So I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, right? And I'll see you next week. Bye.